Hello vinyl community, and thank you once again for tuning into Mike's Vinyl Experience. I appreciate it so very much. And really, thank you so much for those of you that have been submitting comments on some of my last videos. Appreciate that so much. I really appreciate that because it really helps me to improve what I'm doing, and maybe even down the road I can do some of the music that we talk about in our comments. Certainly the Atlantic 75 that we just reviewed with Foreigner, and a lot of those titles that are coming out, I intend on doing some videos on those. There's a lot of neat and exciting releases forthcoming that I'm excited to do. So thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate it so very, very much. Just a short few days ago, those of you that may have seen it, I did a video on Bill Evans' Sunday at the Village Vanguard, the new OGC craft recording. I did a little comparison with the Mobile Fidelity one step. And really ever since then, I've kind of been in a jazz kind of mood here, and I've been listening to a lot of jazz music. And some of the albums that I've been pulling out have been female jazz vocalists. And I just got going through a bunch of them and got excited about listening to them again. Some of them I've had in my collection for quite some time. Some are actually a little more recent. But anyway, I've been pulling some of these out and listening to them, and I thought, shoot, let's do a video on these ones that I've been listening to. I've got 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 albums of female jazz artists, vocalists, that I've been listening to, and I'd kind of like to share those with you today. I've got a pretty vast group to share with you today. All of them, to be honest with you, are really good sounding audiophile type vinyl. Every one of them, I think, are incredible sounding. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let me show you what I've been listening to. And once again, please comment on these albums and other female jazz vocalists that you listen to or are listening to or have listened to that maybe you could share with me. That's how we learn, and that's how we learn about new artists and new things that maybe that we each haven't heard of before. So anyway, thank you for your comments, and please continue to putting those comments in. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first album that I want to share with you that I've been listening to the past few days, no female jazz artist collection is complete without an Ella Fitzgerald album. And of course, I'm cheating a little bit since this is Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. Absolutely, probably my most favorite Ella Fitzgerald album. I just love her voice, and the combination of her and Louis Armstrong on this, especially on the cut Cheek to Cheek, is phenomenal. I believe this album was originally released in 1956 in mono, I think. It was 1956. And this is the latest reissue on Verve with the Acousic Sounds series. Ryan K. Smith did the mastering work on this, and gosh, when you consider the age of this album and the age of those master tapes, this sounds incredible. It just sounds really good. Cheek to Cheek, probably one of my favorite songs on the album that these two did, and that's kind of cheating a little bit because Louis Armstrong starts out with that song, but it's a great album. Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, what a great sounding, incredible album. I love listening to this album. The next album I have is an album that I got at the 2010 CES show in Las Vegas. And Bisson, Blue Mind. She's actually, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that, but she actually signed the album while I was there. It was really kind of neat. Anyway, this album was playing throughout the CES show in all of the high-end rooms back in 2010. The album, I believe, came out in 2009. And I hope I don't really flub this name up, but it came out on Fidelio Records, I believe. Kevin Gray did the mastering on this for the vinyl. This came out digitally as well. In fact, if you bought the album back then, they gave you a little USB flash type card with the album on it as well. I believe it was done in 9624 It sounds pretty good too, but not as good as the final album. This is a great sounding album, excellent music on it. September in Montreal is very good. Incidentally, the musicians that Bisson has with her here are excellent. Very, very well recorded album. And once again, mastered by Kevin Gray. The next album I want to share with you that I've been listening to the past few days was Jacintha. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think that's correct. The album is called Here's to Ben, a vocal tribute to Ben Webster. Now, this came out in 1998 on the Groove Note label, mastered by Bernie Grundman. The album itself is a 33 RPM, but there's an additional album that it came with, just a white cover, that has a 45 RPM version of The Look of Love, which is, by the way, an incredible sounding version of that song performed by Jacintha. If you've heard this, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you might want to take a listen. This is really, really well. Now, the musicianship on this album by Jacintha's backing band, whatever you want to call them, is stellar. The recording is amazing. It's just excellent, excellent music. This is an album you can put on to and kick back on a nice rainy Sunday afternoon, and it's just a wonderful sounding album. Jacintha, Here's to Ben. She's got a few albums out that I have. I probably got 5 or 6, maybe even 7 of her albums, and they're all good and they all sound great. She's got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful voice. Jacintha, highly recommended. Okay, the next album that I want to share with you is an album that you may or may not have heard of. The name of the album is Vaya Con Dios. That's the name of the group. The name of the album is Vaya Con Dios as well. It's a group from Belgium. This version of the album was released on Music on Vinyl in 2018. And I'm not really sure that it was ever released in the United States. Now, before 2019 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, I'd never even heard of this band before. But let me tell you kind of how I came to learn of them. I was in the VTL room at the Consumer Electronics Show, Vacuum to Logic room, and they were exhibiting one of their new phono stages that they had out along with all of their other, preamplifiers and amplifiers. They had that connected to a pair of Wilson Audio Sabrina speakers in the VTL room. And they had this album that they were playing, and I just sat there. I bet you I listened to most of side 1 of this album before I got up and left. It mesmerized me. Recording is very, very well. Sound is great. The person, the lead singer, this lady here is Danny Klein. She's got a phenomenal voice, just a really neat voice. Once again, the band was formed and they're from Belgium. But boy, I tell you what, this gal can really sing. The album is absolutely beautiful. I can't highly recommend it enough. The song I Sold My Soul on this album, I don't know if you can find this on like Spotify or Apple Music, but take a listen to it. This is a really, really good album. But Sold My Soul on this cut is incredible. Dynamics are excellent. Really, and once again, this Danny is her name, Danny Klein. Her backing group are phenomenal. They're excellent musicians. Well-recorded album. Couldn't tell you who the recording engineer was. I couldn't seem to find it. But I believe the album was released in 1988 originally. But once again, I don't think it was released in the US. May have been, but according to Discogs, I couldn't see that it had. But great sounding and great music on this album. Vaya Con Dios, great album. If you can find one, look, grab it and listen to it. I'm sure they're readily available. I know there's a few for sale on Discogs. Anyway, great album, great sounding album, Vaya Con Dios. Okay, the next album that I'd like to share with you is a more recent release, but absolutely one of my favorite female jazz vocalist artists, Lyn Stanley. This is Lyn Stanley and her Jazz Mavericks. This one here, I don't know if you can see that, was signed by Lyn Stanley as well. This is a 45 RPM dual album, live at Studio A. What an incredible sounding album this is. This was mastered by Bernie Grundman, of course, but great sounding, incredible album. I've also got another signed Lyn Stanley album behind me. You can see on the wall, Lyn Stanley and her Jazz Mavericks, London with a Twist, live at Bernie's. I think that album obviously was mastered by Bernie Grundman, but I think that was done live at his recording place or his mastering studio or place that he does his work. But this album in particular is just phenomenal. The entire album is incredible. The first cut, and I hope I'm getting this right, Triste, Route and Route 66 are two of my favorites. Let There Be Love and Lover Man is a great song. This is a great sounding album. And then once again, whoever her and her Jazz Mavericks are, the musicianship quality on this album is nothing but first rate. Of course, Lyn Stanley's voice is recorded impeccably, but as well as everything else is. What an incredible, awesome sounding album. Lyn Stanley and her Jazz Mavericks. Anyway, great sounding album, audiophile quality type album. Highly recommend that. Okay, the next album that I want to share with you today is Eva Cassidy. Gosh darn it, the thing's in the way. Eva Cassidy, Songbird. Now, I don't know about you if you've listened to Eva Cassidy, and I'm sure probably a lot of you have if you're audiophiles for sure. But Eva Cassidy had a wonderful voice. She passed away, I think, when she was 33 years old. What a tragedy that was, I believe, of cancer. Her voice is incredible. I've got probably 8, 9. Well, here's another one, live at Blues Alley. But this one was done on S&P Records. Steve Hoffman, I believe, was the mastering engineer, but the lacquers were cut by Steve Hoffman, and at Acousic by Steve Hoffman and Kevin Gray. And so the album itself is incredible sounding, amazing sounding. My reason for liking this album, and I know the song appears on a lot of her other albums, especially her live albums, such as Live at Blues Alley. But the song on here, Fields of Gold, a cover of one of Sting's songs that he wrote. If you've not heard her version of it on this album, you need to jump on Spotify, wherever you listen to your music, or buy the album or something. But it's incredible. Her voice is utterly amazing. Once again, along with all of the musicians associated on this album with Eva Cassidy, they're all incredible. Great musicians. Sound quality on this album is absolutely phenomenal. Beautiful Gatefold talks a lot about her other albums. Fields of Gold is just an incredible song. Wade in the Water, the second song, is really good. Songbird, the title of the album. What an incredible. Another one to listen to on side 2, People Get Ready. I know it's an old standard, but her renditions of these songs are incredible. What an incredible voice this young lady had. Sad to see her go at such a young age, but Eva Cassidy, you can't go wrong with listening to any of her albums. The next album that I have that I've been listening to a lot, actually this album's been in my collection since probably the early 2000s. Patricia Barber, Nightclub. I'm not sure if I got them all. I'd have to check, but I think I've got most of all of Patricia Barber's albums that she's released. This is probably my most favorite Nightclub. I think the musicianship of her songs on this are incredible. Of course, this is on Premonition label. Alan Tucker did the masterworks on this for Premonition. And like I said, I believe it came out in 2000. But the Impex version of the album, Nightclub, that they did just a couple years ago, that one's mastered by Bernie Grundman. And yes, it does sound better than the Premonition version, but not by massive amounts. But I still listen to this because 33 RPM, and it sounds wonderful. Premonition Records did a great job with this. Bye Bye Blackbird, Yesterday's on this, the songs on this are just excellent. Just the Nightclub feel that it gives you. And it does have it's properly titled Nightclub. It's just the type of music that it is, like a jazz nightclub. And the music is wonderful. Her voice is incredible. Once again, the musicians that are associated with this, with Patricia Barber, are nothing short of wonderful, great sounding, excellent sonics, obviously, a system that you don't mind putting on because you know you're going to get great sound from it. Patricia Barber Nightclub, probably my favorite Patricia Barber album, and there's many of them that she's done. And like I say, I think I've got most of them, if not all, but this is probably my favorite album by Patricia Barber. The last album that I have on my list of jazz female vocalists that I've been listening to in recent days is one of my all-time favorite, Diana Krall. Love her music. She's one of my favorite jazz artists of all time. I love her sultry voice. She's a great pianist. She's just got an incredible, one of those can't forget voices. Love to hear her music. We've actually seen Diana Krall in concert quite a few times. Whenever she comes nearby, we'll definitely get tickets and go. She puts on a really good show. In fact, behind me, I don't know if you can see this, but on the wall is Diana Krall, the Glad Rag Doll album. It's actually signed by Diana Krall. We obtained that at her concert she was doing back in 2015 up at Deer Valley Ski Resort in Park City, Utah. And what a great show it was. And I got to tell you, the funniest thing about the show is we got there a little early, as we normally do, and it's on a ski resort. On one of the ski runs at the ski resort, they'd put a stage up down on the flat area, a good, nice big stage. We were probably maybe 300-400. It might have been a little further up on the ski run, sitting on a blanket, grassy area, obviously during the summer, and had great seats. It was a great venue, great atmosphere for Diana Krall and her music. And so we were excited to be there, and my wife and I had spread out a blanket, sitting there. There was several other people. It was a very well-attended concert, lots of people at the concert, and a lot of people like us with blankets. And my wife and I kind of felt a little out of our element there, being in Park City, because there's all these people there on blankets and really nice picnic baskets, eating cheeses and meats, caviar, bottles of wine and nice wine glasses. Here my wife and I were sitting down there on our blanket eating a Subway sandwich and drinking a Diet Coke. Fell a little out of our element, but it didn't matter. We were there to see Diana Krall, and it was amazing. But the cool thing about it, about 20 feet from us, just to my left, 20 feet away, sitting right next to one of the ski lift poles that goes, was going up of the ski run that we were sitting on, sitting right there next to that ski pole on a blanket by himself was Diana Krall's husband, Elvis Costello. I leaned to my wife and I said, "That's Elvis Costello. That's Diana Krall's husband." I thought, "Are you kidding me?" He was just sitting there all by himself, getting ready to watch his wife's concert. It was incredible to see. I don't think a lot of the people around us knew who it even was. because no one was bothering him. He was left to himself and whatnot. Maybe they weren't into pop type music, rock music, and didn't know who he was. But I mean, right there, 20 feet, I could have yelled and said, not even yelled, and just said, "Hey Elvis, how you doing?" I didn't, but I wanted to, but I didn't. And the sad part about it was, I hadn't went down to where they were selling Diana Krall's stuff, albums and t-shirts and stuff like that. I hadn't gone down there yet to buy that record. And I wished I would have went when we got there and bought that, so that I could have, had her signature on it. Would have been great to have him sign it, even though it's not one of his albums, but it would have been cool anyway. But yeah, 20 feet away, sitting right there by himself, Elvis Costello, sitting there watching his wife's concert. It was cool. He wasn't there the entire concert. He picked up and left, a few songs into it, and probably went downstage, backstage there and whatnot. I don't know, but it was a cool thing. But Diana Krall's been one of my favorite artists for some time, and this is one of my most favorite albums to listen to of hers, Live in Paris. Now, this was originally done on Verve Records, excuse me. This one is done on the original recording group, and this sounds great. This sounds absolutely phenomenal. Some of my favorite songs, of course, is The Look of Love, going back to Junita and her version of Look of Love. I love Diana Krall's her version of Look of Love as well. But my favorite song on this album is Swonderful. The presentation of how she does it with her voice is just incredible. But once again, a female jazz artist, Diana Krall, she's backed by incredible musicians. And it really shows I don't know if there's a bad recorded album in her, at least that I have. All of her albums sound really, really nice. They're all well recorded, have good sound. This one is definitely of audiophile quality. Incredible sound for a live album. Wow, incredible sounding album. But anyway, Diana Krall, great artist, love her to death. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate it so very much. Please, as I said before, send me some comments. Let me know what jazz artists you're listening to, female jazz vocalists that you're listening to. That's how we all learn and get to know other albums. Gosh, I never heard of her. I hope maybe I've introduced you to someone, maybe like, some of the albums here that maybe you've not heard of before. Probably most of them you have, because they are kind of audiophile, quality type records. Maybe the Vaya Con Dios album might be new to you. I don't know, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. But like I said, the most important thing is please leave me your comments in the section below. It helps me get better, and maybe we can produce some of the albums, that we talk about in our conversations and whatnot. Anyway, I'm so excited. I was really hoping and really thought that the UHQR version of Steely Dan Gaucho was being released. I think I got it confused with the standard release that came out just a day or two ago, and I got it confused thinking that was going to be the UHQR. Anyway, it has not come out yet. But one that did come out that I'm anxiously awaiting is the Van Halen. They're Van Halen's first album on Mobile Fidelity's One Step. I'm excited to hear that. I've got an original copy of I've got all of Van Halen's records. I've got an original copy of that I'll listen to and do a little comparison on, but I'm excited for that Van Halen album to show up. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great day. Thank you again.